Hello, everyone. Welcome back to this Friday's episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Brody. I am joined alongside my co-host and good friend, Tony Sapita. The big last 24 hours for the Chicago Bears. I know that we did not hit on the Ryan Bates news like a lot of people wanted us to, but the offer sheet is officially signed. He did agree to a deal with the Chicago Bears, but the Bills have some time to match. Also, the Bears signed another backup for quarterback Justin Fields, and guess what? Nick Foles is getting shopped around a little bit over here, so watch out. He might not be on the roster anymore later. And Tony is the next GM of the Chicago Bears because he predicted the 39th pick that's coming up in the next couple of weeks. In our latest mock draft, if you haven't seen that, go watch Mock Draft 3.0. It's the 39th pick. We get all into that jazz. And also, again, welcome Trevor Siemian on a 2-year contract to the Chicago Bears. Super Bowl bound. Tony is excited about it. The jersey is already ordered. In fact, Tony already wanted him on the Bears so bad so long ago. He already has the jersey made. He just didn't want to bring it out yet. So speaking of Tony, congrats on the promotion at work. Very well deserved. As some of you may not know, Tony got promoted this week. We're very happy for him, and we're excited to see what goes next for him. But Tony, before we go into that sort of promotion, especially in regards to our offensive line, do you actually see the Ryan Bates deal happening, coming to Chicago, or do you think the Bills will match?
I do. I really think that the Bills they got their offensive line kind of figured out. They got their team figured out. I can see they'll just kind of let him go, get the bag, and just, maybe draft someone as they go along, because, we'll get into it in a second here. He is 25. That's obviously still very young, but it is kind of getting to the point where if he's not going to be an immediate replacement, maybe they look to just kind of shore up their depth in the draft. And Bill, obviously, they had to replace already, or they already let go young stud Mitch Trubisky. So I do think that they do let our soon to be starting right guard, hopefully, knock on a little wood here, Ryan Bates, go to Chicago. So might as well just jump right into it. Who's Ryan Bates? Ryan Bates, offensive guard, obviously from the Buffalo Bills, as we just mentioned. He is 25 years old, 6'4", 302 pounds. He is young. Like I said, I know I made it sound like 25 isn't young, but that was just kind of fitting for fitting the Bills, what their team is kind of right now. For us, that is very young, especially after running Jason Peters out there last year and some of the other guys we had fill in. So he played at Penn State. He is mainly a right guard. I imagine in a pinch, we can kind of move him around if we need to. He is a tough physical guy. He's a fast guy, which is what Ryan Poles wants. He wants us to have a quick, young offensive line. I know he's maybe not small in the sense that Ryan Poles is looking for, but he fits kind of all those.
But he's lean. But he's a lean lineman. So he does kind of
fit everything else. Yes, exactly. He fits everything else that Ryan Poles, I think, is looking for. So he did play 40, or he's played in 41 games in the NFL. However, he has only started 4 of them. So he obviously has a little ways to go, but all 4 came at the end of last season for the Bills, including the playoffs. And as we know, it wasn't the offensive line that, there was the reason the Bills lost. That was just Patrick Mahomes and just kind of defensive breakdowns. So that's a good sign. It's not, they didn't lose because of their right guard, which is good. I love this move. I think it knocks out, or what it does do is it knocks out kind of that center guard position in one shot. The line right now, as it stands, obviously we may make some moves here as we go along. Left tackle, Larry Borum. Left guard, Cody Whitehair. Center, Lucas Patrick. Right guard, Ryan Bates. Right tackle, Tevin Jenkins. Of course, those could be shifted around a bit. We'll see maybe Whitehair and Patrick switch. Maybe there's just, people feel better in certain positions. Obviously, it's more up to Justin Fields, I feel like, at that point. So even with Jenkins not fully proven, this is definitely a huge improvement, right? Yeah, definitely. So
I feel so much better just hearing that it's a potential. I mean, our line, I think, is just going to be so much better next year. I'm very excited about it. Sorry, so didn't mean to cut you off, but I think people need to understand the line is going to be better next year, whether you like it or not. When you have a 40-year-old left tackle being your best lineman, and also, sorry, Sam Mustipher, but you're gone. It's an instant upgrade with Lucas Patrick at center. So very excited about that. And Tony, I know that why don't you calm everyone down from our last episode about Dakota Dozer, who has the best last name of any NFL lineman, in my opinion, besides Pancake, if someone had the last name Pancake.
Of course. So
clarity.
We saw a couple tweets, a couple responses like, this guy, Justin Fields is going to get killed. Free Justin Fields. He's going to die with Dakota Dozier blocking for him back there. Honestly, he will probably make the practice squad, maybe just that last depth position on the roster. He genuinely might not make the roster, depending on obviously the draft and different things. So if he is starting, we are definitely in probably a bad situation, but there shouldn't be a world where Justin Fields is lining up behind Dakota Dozier. So everyone, we can relax on that. We got that out there. So we don't know the full details. Back to Ryan Bates. We don't know the full details on his contract yet. Obviously, the Bills, like we said, still have the rights to kind of pull him back. He's a restricted free agent, and they're still working everything out. So he is a young, talented lineman. He doesn't come around that often, obviously, for kind of in that
especially in free
market.
agency. Yeah.
So clearly the Bills, they see something in him as they made him a restricted free agent. Usually young guys don't get that unless the team is really worried about losing them. So I hope, there's definitely, we'll probably do a breaking news episode if he gets pulled back. I really hope we see him. I think we will see him, but I don't know. So Nick, would you like to get into, in my opinion, the Super Bowl winning move that we made here? Super Bowl is back on. This is actually a Trevor Siemian jersey. This isn't even Justin Fields jersey anymore. It's all jokes for anybody watching. I totally kidding, but Nick, go ahead.
No, and I want to say one more thing about Dakota Dozier. I know that I just one more thing is that the reason why, and I said this in the episode about Dakota Dozier, you can go back and watch it. It's 4 minutes, not too much time. Is the Bears likely brought him in because he is very, very good at not getting penalties. That he might not be a good blocker, but he's not good at getting penalties. And sure, I mean, I'd rather him get holding than Justin Fields get killed. But regards to false starts, that was a huge problem with the Chicago Bears last year. So just want to put that out there that this guy hopefully will bring that mentorship. Like Tony said, he will not be a starter unless there is an insane amount of COVID. Hopefully that's all over with, or just injuries in general to the offensive line like last year. Don't see him starting. Don't hate on him because he is a Chicago Bear at the end of the day, and we support our guys out there. So going into our next guy, Trevor Siemian, quarterback that we just signed to a 2-year contract, also known as T-Money Sizzle. So we got Vanilla Ice coming in, doing a little wrap off with him. Love that nickname. Signed a 2-year deal with the Chicago Bears last night. He is very familiar with the Chicagoland area and the Chicago Bears fan base as he played college ball for Northwestern, went to 2 bowls with them. He was a decent quarterback in college. He was drafted in the 7th round by Denver. So, he was drafted. That's Tom Brady status. Tom Brady wasn't drafted in the 1st round. Just want to put that out there. He is not starting over Justin Fields. Just putting that out there. He has NFL starting experience, though, in case something does happen. He started 14 games in 2016 with Denver, where he had 3,401 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, and 10 interceptions with an 8-6 record as a starter. Not bad. I'll take it. And then he started 10 games in 2017 for Denver, 2,285 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 14 interceptions, 5-5 record. Again, Denver's offense back then, you kind of can't say too much to it. It wasn't the greatest. It was kind of like Matt Nagy and the Chicago Bears a little bit. Yeah. And then he played for New Orleans last season, started 4 games for them. He was 0-4, but he still passed for a little less than 1,200 yards, had 11 touchdown passes and 3 interceptions. I mean, hey, you haven't heard Jay Cutler even have a ratio like that. So just want to put that out there too. He's not bad. He's a very favorable backup, kind of like Chase Daniels was. Everyone's like, oh, that's the guy that you want to bring in. He's not a mobile quarterback, let's say. I mean, he can run if he absolutely has to, but he's not stuck in the ground like Nick Foles. And that's why Nick Foles is probably getting shopped around along with his big contract. So Tony and I like this signing for the Bears. Again, I didn't see the numbers anywhere, Tony. I mean, I was looking around this morning for it. But in my opinion, there isn't a better backup for Justin Fields right now. I mean, Foles from an athletic standpoint, Foles has more experience for sure, but great mentor nonetheless. Love Nick Foles. Wish him the best. But this is a good signing. Don't you? You think so too, right, Tony?
Yeah, and I saw a number. It was about I don't know what the breakdown was exactly. That's still coming out. I'm sure it's not. Ian Rappaport isn't exactly breaking that news. It was about 5 million ish was the kind of guaranteed, or not. I don't know if it was guaranteed or full contract. So not a crazy signing. It's enough for a backup quarterback. It's an important position just in case something happens. And before we get into the other backup quarterback, we're shopping around like you said. The Chase Daniels comparison. Actually, I would rather have Trevor Siemian. Instead of a guy like Chase Daniel, great guy in the locker room, etc. But at least he threw 10 passes, I think, before like he came to the Bears, Chase Tannehill. At least
He
Trevor
also couldn't
Siemian
see
does
over his
have.
offensive line. He was too small.
Yeah, in case there's like obviously I don't want him for any reason long term, I know obviously, but if it is a 1-game stretch where he fills in against maybe a weaker opponent, I at least have a little more confidence that, we can survive that week, get, Fields back, whatever. But obviously we hope nothing happens to Fields. And because we're hoping nothing happens to Fields, Nick Foles is being shopped, which according to Mike Garofalo, the Chicago Bears are shopping him around. They're kind of taking different, I don't know if they're getting any calls, but they're at least making the calls, which is good enough for me. He currently has a $10.6 million cap hit as a third string quarterback, which is not good. So that would not, that's not what Poles wants. Obviously we can sign, another Dakota Dozier on the line in our to our roster. But Foles has expressed his frustration before, with the Chicago Bears, as we've seen. So he originally came in as supposed to be the starting quarterback. There's supposed to be a little competition for starting quarterback, which I guess there kind of was. He did end up taking over for Trubisky, but it was just a bad situation all around. Nagy and him did not get along, shocker, and not Foles' fault there. And then they drafted Justin Fields, it just all didn't really work out for Nick Foles, which I'm fine with it. Yeah. So it's a good thing we're shopping around. We'll probably have to chew up most of that cap hit. Hopefully we can get, maybe a 6th round pick, just something to kind of offset, instead of just giving them away for free or maybe even us giving away a pick just for someone to take them. So I can see there are definitely some quarterback needy teams. I don't really have anything off the top of my head. I guess maybe New Orleans could maybe go back to New Orleans, maybe back to Philadelphia. Who knows? I don't know. Miami, even though they, they're pretty set with Tua. They're all in on Tua over there. So I don't know.
You never know. He can't really throw the ball that far, according to everybody. So I'm just saying, Nick Foles has a cannon. Especially like it's like the one where like it's the most cheesy 2004 high school like throw. It's just like how he would throw it. Yeah. I just want to throw out there. I could see Nick Foles going to like the Lions or some weird team.
Back to the Jaguars, maybe.
Oh God, I don't think he'd go. I don't think he could do it. It's just there's too much bad blood there. But he's played for so many teams. I mean, he's definitely not going to go back to the Chiefs because they re-signed Chad Henne. But the Cardinals, maybe. We're just
Seahawks.
In his last game as a Bear that he started was against the Seahawks. A little weird NFL stuff like that always happens.
Yep.
But also before we get into our last subject about who the Bears want to take at pick number 39, I just want to put this out there, a little, public service announcement. Andy Dalton is not on the Bears anymore. Like I see people all the time, like we have so many quarterbacks. Like, why do we still have Andy Dalton? Like, no, he's gone. Like the Bears did not have to express and like say, thanks, Andy, for everything. Like Andy Dalton's gone. He got his $10 million and he's gone. So just want to put that out there for anyone that doesn't understand or like still thinks that Andy Dalton's on the team. He's gone.
I just want to fact check Brad Biggs real quick. He said we have 3 quarterbacks on the roster. Now we have 4 because we do have Ryan Willis still. So
yes,
just want to
Ryan
fact check
Willis
him quick
is still
on that.
on the roster.
But we'll see. We'll see how that turns out. I don't know. Well, I guess if they get rid of Nick Foles, then he's the 3rd guy. So I don't know. But either way.
But I just wanted to put that out there because I'm just like, oh my gosh, like no, like the night that I was an Andy Dalton guy. I will say that. But the nightmare of just hearing people complain about it is over. And also just having him on the roster and trying to band-aid things together is over. Public service announcement, just if anyone needed to hear that. Better public service announcement that I want to hit on really fast is that Ryan Poles is all in on Christian Watson at pick number 39. If you don't know who Christian Watson is, Tony picked him in our last mock draft. Make sure that you go and watch that. And literally, I could not agree more either. So he's a wide receiver from North Dakota State. He's 6'5". Just putting that, he is 6'5", 208 pounds, 22 years old. He ran a 4.36 40. So his speed just goes with his size. Like he's just insanely fast. He's got those long legs. He can just get out and go. 38.5 vertical jump, 136-inch broad jump. This guy has bunny hops. He can go up and he can already beat defenders standing up, but now he's going to jump with it too. Come on. It's just unfair. has the size, speed, athleticism, and we believe that he is molded into a true NFL wide receiver. Maybe a DK Metcalf, if he puts on 5-10 more pounds, watch out now. Don't have to trade about million picks. Get him in one. Dude had insane numbers his last year in college. Again, he played for North Dakota State, which is not a big football, is not in a big division, but is a big football school. He had 800 yards, 18.6 yards per catch, 7 touchdowns, and had an 85-yard reception. Just putting that out there. Reason he isn't probably going to go in the first round, though, is because he went to an FCS school. Okay, you know who else didn't go to big schools? Jerry Rice and Cooper Kupp, and look how those guys turned out. Pretty dang good. So, Tony, any more comments before we close out?
Yeah, I just want to say that if and when the Bears do take him at the 39th pick, please credit me. We put it out, we recorded it. Obviously, we had to process it, whatever gets put out 3 hours after it gets posted. That's when a couple of those draft scouts, verified draft scouts, just to be clear, a little check mark next to them, were saying Ryan Poles and the Bears have significant interest in him at the 39th pick. So just remember who broke the news. That's my final comments.
We know who you are. We know who you are. But also, we said him in 2 of our mock drafts. We said it in, I believe, the first and the third. So we're just going to keep him in the rest. Just putting that out there. A little freebie for you guys. Yeah. But we are very excited for this upcoming weekend. Again, the draft is coming up at the end of April. So we're going to have a lot more mock drafts coming out. And there's going to be more news coming out on potential prospects for the Chicago Bears. But with that, thank you very much for joining this episode of Just Another Year Chicago. My name is Nick Rohde, joined alongside Tony Cepeda, and we'll see you guys next time.